So the work app I'm working on now is called Countdown to Binge, and it's been an idea of mine for a while now. And the idea, the premise is I don't like watching shows week by week, and so I have a really I have
Oh no, I get it. I get it.
a Yes. So the idea is you add shows that you like, and the ones that Netflix, the ones that are on like Netflix and stuff, it'll tell you when those launch, but what it'll do is it will count down the shows and give you and keep track of the shows that have releases. And so here is sort of what it does now. And I've been working on this functionality since I don't know. I've been doing this. I did the design it took me a day or two to do the design, and I've been working on the core functionality of this for the last probably 3 or 4 days, maybe more. Less
Yeah,
than a week for sure.
I'm just
And
stunned by your design chops here. Like the
thank you.
the episodes remaining, having it be off, like not fully on the
Oh,
screen.
yes. Yeah, actually this trick I was going to do with a real font, and then the problem was when it got to double digits, I didn't like the way that it was designed. I wanted it to overlay sort of like 10 be one being over the zero, and then
Oh,
and
yeah. So
then
you
and
wanted more
then
control over
right. So what
that.
I did was I actually created a template of like 50 numbers in
Damn.
in PNGs, and they all are in the same size, so they always will fit. And then the idea is it just I feed in a number, and then that number is what I named it. So
Right.
I
Man.
just like the look of it better than it did when it was if I had done it here. I'll show you what it looks like. So here are my numbers. And so you can see 1 through 6. And then as you get to like 10,
Uh-huh. I
it
see
just
the
looks,
11, they're over each other. Yeah, that's
yeah. So every number, every digit, especially in the double digits, it gets to be over. And I did all the way to 50, and then I did NA. And
yeah.
so I'll do my logic for if it's over, I actually gonna change it because I thought of a better idea. So instead of doing NA, I'm gonna do 50 and then a plus, and then anything over 50 will just
Mm.
go under the
Ju-
50 plus.
Right, because it's just a lot. As far as the
Correct.
user is concerned, at that point, it's like lots. I'm not going to come
Right.
back to this for a long time.
And it's one of those where I'm not even sure it will work, but I started Googling, and like, what's the longest episode or like series and ones that have the most episodes. And someone was like, oh, there's one with 40 and one with, and I was like, oh, I never even thought of it. So I'm just like, let me go ahead and make it to like 50 at least, and then that'll work. So right now I haven't seen anything. I saw 10, I think, once. When I was randomizing it, I saw it often, but now that it's actually what the code is, it's a bit different. So but I have it to where it's so the logic is crazy. So right now I have it where it goes into binge, which means that it's in that means it's airing right now, and that so shows are being aired live. Now, the one caveat which I didn't think about when I started thinking about this was Netflix has all of their shows drop at once. So Last Airbender actually isn't airing, but once it does, it will drop all 8 episodes. So in 17 days, this will drop, and then and this one drops week by week. That's on Apple TV Plus. And then I have upcoming. So this here shows you when it starts. So like there's so many different like little nuances. So this one shows when the show starts. So here, 22 days, 25 days, 39 days. Once it goes, it'll go from upcoming to binge once it gets into it actually starts airing. Then pending means that it doesn't have a start date, but it's been announced. So Daredevil, which I never even knew was even coming out, is getting rebooted on Disney,
Is it
and
interesting? Huh.
and yeah, so but they're making it a whole new, even though it's the same characters, they're making it like a whole new series. So the stuff on Netflix doesn't affect this,
Mm,
and so this is where the pending goes. And then let's say binge list, that means the show is ready to be binged, or or it's, so like right now I don't have anything. So I wanted to show this part. So if I go here and I add Yellowstone, for example,
hmm. Boink.
and then I click plus, and now Yellowstone's been added. So if I go to binge list,
Oh, nice.
Yellowstone will tell me that there's 8 episodes in that season that I can watch now. And then I can come back and I can add another show, which I just finished watching, Berlin, and I can add that. And now that will also show up in here. So I finally got this logic all working in test, but my problem is, so in order to test, this is one of the rare things. So I wasn't sure how to do this. I was able to set up my test so that it uses JSON because this API makes 3 calls. So the original call is on the search. So the call that I'm making here, it goes to, Berlin or Money Heist, right? So that's one call. And that call gives me basic information. It gives me like a poster, a name,
Uh,
very limited, like 6 different things, but it doesn't give me much. So I can't really use any of it.
but
And then
these are like you're combining different APIs.
no, it's one API, but the way they built it is it's you have to, you first do your
Oh,
search, then it gives
first
you
get
the
it.
I it gets it, then you grab the ID,
Yeah.
then from there you do your D, like you then do an ID
Hmm. Give me
fetch,
all the details on.
right, on the show. And then when you want, like, and now I'm here, so I have details, right? I have Berlin and I have like the breakdown and the year, and then here I have recommended shows. And now if I go to hit the plus, it's going to then download the episodes for the season.
Hmm.
So it's the 3 steps, and was able to get all my logic to be combined into one function, because before I was doing some logic outside, and when I was trying to test it, I wasn't getting the same results with my test that I was with the actual app. So I had to like restructure my entire co- code, which took me forever, but I finally got it working for all the little different stipulations, because the ones that you see here, they all kind of work differently. Like, for example, Yellowstone is in a mid-season break right now, so it's not actually fully complete.
Uh-huh.
Berlin is a show that is completed. Last Airbender is one that is it's a Netflix release, so of course it's a little different because the dates are all the same. Masters of Air is a week by week release, so that's a little different. Then in the upcoming, it's weird because Shogun is different. Elspeth is a different, and Grays is different. So I in my test, I have it set up to where I have a JSON for each one of the, most of pretty much everything you see here. So I have
Hmm.
a Daredevil, and then I have episodes and details, and then I copy the JSON so I didn't have to write all of those. And then I have Grays, I have Last Airbender, Masters, Yellow,
I
Shogun,
see.
Berlin. And then in my test, so if I go into my test, The here's where the problem lies. So I have to do, even though it's airing, it's actually, hold on. So this is where I guess the problem lies. I'm running this function called add new show, and this one is the async. So this is the one that I have to use when I'm running it
Hmm.
in the device for real.
Hmm.
But in the version that I'm doing for testing, I have to run a different function, which is this one, because this returns me back the actual series for me to then verify that I did it correctly. And I don't know how to make it so that I don't have to write two functions and I can just use this one. Now, the other caveat is one uses Swift data and the other one doesn't, and I wasn't sure
Oh,
how. Now, they actually, so yeah, so all of the shows right now in this simulator are being saved to Swift data. So if I leave and come back, they're all there.
right.
Now, they don't actually save until it gets down to here and down to here. And that's if the episode isn't found. So if the show is in there already, it's not going to resave it. Which is good. That's what I want. But the problem I said, like I said, is this one is using async and it's just saving. It doesn't return anything. And I don't know how to check this version of it to then verify without having to rewrite the function and use this version. So that was my like first question that I
Okay.
had was how do I attack that?
So my first thought is that uh the real code you have up above seems like a long method. And um if if it's hard to test, if you basically if is there a subset of this that we can extract um and we can to something that's easier to test?
So originally I was testing determine show status. Now, the determine show status is the function that actually tests all of the logic. Now, that's where like the bulk of this is going, and I need to get rid of it. I like I said, I'm just now starting to like get everything cleaned up because I've been, like I said, I rewrote it. Now, that is really where the bulk of the test is. This is where the logic lies. The
Okay.
rest of it is just creating this is creating a series this is creating a series which is
Hmm.
a Swift data model. This is creating a season which is a Swift data model. And then on this line I'm taking the episodes from the data that I get. So here I'm going and pulling in the episode data and I'm putting it into series. So it's taking series and combining it with the it's combining series with seasons. So series has a bunch of seasons, right? Like a show. And that's all that these few lines do. So right here, one, two, three, four, the first four lines, that's just creating the objects for Swift data. Now, this one is the one that actually does the show status, and
Right.
that's where the main logic lies. And
And
then the
and
last,
do you have
go ahead.
tests on determine show status by itself?
I used to, but the problem was the problem here is so you'll see here I have two if else statements. And that's where I started realizing. So I put it on my phone and I started saving shows. And then there was some outliers like Daredevil and Shogun because sometimes the episode data is not in the feed.
Hmm.
And when it's not in the feed, when I originally did it, I was only checking episode data. And then I realized, oh, well, when there's no episode data, then you can't look at just episodes. You have to look at, well, in their feed, they have what's called next to air and last show to air. And those two objects basically tell you um last to air is somewhat useful, but I don't actually use either of them because neither of them are useful in the case of what I need, other than me just checking to see. um which one, like, next, it's really hard to explain. Next to air gives me the date of a show. For like Shogun, it's going to tell me when it's released, even though none of the other episodes have been the dates have been announced. It will tell me, hey, at least it has a start date, so that I can use for a start date. Whereas in when I get all the episodes, I can then determine things like, has it ended, and where in the stage is the show. And so I started realizing that. So this first if statement basically goes, if I have episodes, then it does that, and it takes it and does it right. And then here
Uh-huh.
it's a lot less because it doesn't have episodes, and so I just do the else. Now, I didn't know how else to condense this down and test it in a way that worked, because I needed, in both instances, I needed both data, because I realized afterwards that when I tested only the details and an episodes was missing, that I would then test the feed, and the feed would give me back an episode that wasn't, like, that didn't work, and then it would break because it wasn't working. So I needed both, even if, for example, some of the episodes are, if the data from the episodes comes back nil, I copy that JSON and paste it into it and say, hey, this show doesn't have episodes yet, and then continue doing my logic. So even in my, which is, it's like really weird, even though in my logic I have watch data manager. So in here, when I go to no, I'm sorry, when I go to save in detail, I'm saving on the error as well, not because I realize that if I don't, it won't save at all. Like,
Ah,
it'll, if it comes back as an error, then I know that there's no episodes. And so that's where I kind of learned my lesson, as in, oh, I need to actually, I gotta clean this code up. Okay, so here I'm saving, and then I'm fetching. Here's where I'm fetching the episode details. And I used to have, let's see, I have a success, and in the success, I'm adding show detail, and in here, series episode data. But in the failure, I'm
mhm,
setting it to nil, and
mhm.
then that, and I'm still saving it, so that way, because this is telling me, hey, we don't have episode data, but we still have series data, and I can show that. And so I save what I can, even though there's a failure to do it. So it's a weird sort of behavior, because the way that the API works, it doesn't give me nice JSON for me to use. So
It,
this was the way that I could get it to work.
this is a really cool sort. It's very real world, you know?
Yes.
This is how code is. There's so many edge cases, and the API doesn't give this or that, and there's this other type of show, and
Yes. And honestly, I never, when I thought about the show originally, I never, like, the logic was like, I never thought it would be this intense. And like, and now I've probably written and rewritten the logic, because I think I've got it right, and then I'm like, nope, I didn't. And then I finally condensed it down to just one. I used to have it in two, but then I realized that, then when I realized that my tests were still wrong, because it didn't work when I went to production. And I'm like, okay, that's great. So that's why I told people, I'm like, I'm gonna have people test it, but I'm like, I need to test it for a week or two, just for myself, and make sure that it's behaving the way I'm expecting it, before I start giving other people it, because it doesn't make any sense if they try to add a show and it doesn't work. So I think I've got most of the outliers out, and I'm sure there's probably a couple I'm missing, but I think overall, I think everything, I think it's probably like 80% there, 90% there. And like my old boss used to say, the last 10% is the
It's
hardest. So
it,
yeah.
it's yeah. It'll take 90% of the time to get the last 10%.
Yeah, and it definitely will. But most of the, like I said, most of the most of the visuals are done. It took me a while to get this sorted out. I had it differently and I've changed it a few times. And then I finally came up last night with, separating binge between upcoming and
Mm.
pending because I had it in one list. And then binge list having that in this one. And then I still need to like there's still some things like I know some scenarios that I haven't tested that I want to be able to test, so that's why picking your brain today is going to be good for me to go and work on this some more because I know that I'd like to be able to test the Swift data objects and be able to because most of that is going to be in Swift data and I want to be able to move like once this hits the end of the countdown, I want to basically move it to the binge list instead of keeping it in upcoming. So there's more logic, there's more stuff that I've got to do, but I wanted to at least
Yeah,
talk with you about it.
let's see what we can do. But
Okay.
first, let me take a quick bathroom break.
No, you're good. I know it's a
Yeah,
lot.
got my hunk of coffee here.
Coffee.
I'll be right back.
You got it.
All right. And here. So, what have we got in this test? Or where shall we start, I wonder? There are a few different places. One is this test because it's just
No, it's not
logging.
airing. For some reason it's not clearing out. Oh, I know what the problem is for this raw value. It's because okay, so this is the problem. This is because I have two different functions. So if I go here and I
I
cut
wanted to ask you
out,
about this.
yes,
Like, why do we have
because one,
one
so
that's testable and one that's not?
I don't know how to do so the add show list doesn't actually return anything. It just saves it to Swift data.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how to test the series. So here what I'm doing is I'm just creating the show and returning the show back and then
Yeah.
I'm testing the status of the show and making sure that it was flagged correctly. So right now
Oh,
if I uncomment this one, oops. If I uncomment this one, now all my shows, all my tests will now go to being clean.
because it has a return value.
Yes, that's the first thing. Let's
Okay.
see what it's doing its build right now to clean. I've been using my
Mhm.
laptop, so this one's probably gonna take a minute to catch up, but it should. Okay. Um, product clean builds.
And yeah, clear all issues too. Let's start fresh.
Doesn't make sense why. Let me see. Yeah, all of these should be working. I don't know why
I'm
there.
seeing errors about how it's async, but you're not calling it with a wait. Will that just make
Um,
adding a wait take care of it?
this one. I think. Oh, wait. At show. Oh, I had two of them.
Oh, yeah, we have
Yeah,
multiple.
that was my old one. I kept it just in case because I was redoing my logic and I didn't want to
Hmm.
lose it. So yeah, so yeah, we're good now. So everything here, and if I run the test, um, yep, okay. And then if I run the test, I don't actually want to run all of the UI ones. So I'm just gonna run the
Just
one
the
with watch.
just the ones we want.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
all of these will go through. But now that I'm, live and chatting with you, they may break, but
Of course.
they should work. I mean, I was able to add them and everything looks right in the simulator. So I know that it does, I know it does work. So all of that code should be there.
Mhm.
But this is the first time I've run the test on this computer, so it's gonna
Yeah,
take. the
and
time.
Xcode of late is a complete snail when it comes to the first time tests. There,
There we
finally.
go.
Okay. All right. So you have these tests. They're calling methods that are just returning a value, which makes it easy to test. Um, can you have your other function that saves the stuff call the current nicely tested function, basically get the return value, and then do the rest of it, the saving that it needs to do?
Yeah. I'm not the only thing that I'm not testing is Swift data, which I don't really know how. And
I don't know
um,
how either, except I I'm I understand that Swift data and core data are,
very similar.
maybe Swift data is built on core data, possibly.
Yep.
Um, and for core data, the trick was to say, I'm running tests, so don't use the real store, make an in-memory store. And
Yes.
I don't know how to do that with
I've seen that
Swift data.
already. Actually, I have some code. Actually, I commented out stuff and I put it to the bottom. So right here, this is the two things you need. So the setup for the mock,
Mm,
and then here you have a teardown,
mm-hmm.
and then you create a main container, which I deleted, I believe, or I commented out. Here, let me just go main container. Of course. I might have removed it. I'll have to look. I didn't save that, so it's not even in the repo. But there's one thing that has to be done. So here I have a model context, which is the other part that I needed, and then there's like a model context that you create that will allow you to then do in memory, or if you set it to false, it will save it
The
to
actual.
it, and then the teardown will delete the objects once
Oh,
it tears
okay.
it down.
Interesting.
So I was watching a video, somebody did this, and actually it was Azam. He did this and he showed, so I made sure I took note of this particular piece. Um and so yeah. So that part I do know. I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole when right now I mean I'm able to test it the way that I'm testing it, but
Right. So
yeah.
with this in place, back to my question, can
Hmm.
we change your code
Sure.
so that it calls the testable version, even if it has a part that we're like hand waving and saying, it's going to do other stuff? Basically, call the method, get the results, and then do whatever else it wants.
Sure.
And
I wasn't quite sure how to do that. So now that you kind of know where I am, I have the code above that does this is the production version and this
right,
is the test version. So I'm not quite sure how to do that.
let's.
Their code is the same. Like I said, the only difference is this is returning the series,
Mhm.
and that gets created, whereas this one just saves it and doesn't return the series because I don't need it to return in the production app.
So can it? du- 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 If it's too hard, I wonder if what's making it hard is that we have the big if else, and you're like, if we get the results, does it handle the results differently depending on whether it's in the if or the else?
The only difference is, and the only difference is basically one gets the seasons and episodes that are appended, but I could technically rewrite that one. It may take me a few minutes to figure it out. The only so right here we have this append episodes and then
Hmm.
the seasons are appended,
Right.
whereas in the version that doesn't, it doesn't actually do that. So I mean I could
So
literally
here's my suggestion.
okay.
Take the body of the if block there
Mm-hmm.
and extract it to a new method.
So this right here,
Yeah.
it
Oh,
won't let
come
me.
on.
I
Xcode.
know. I know it doesn't. I tried this before on my other laptop and it didn't work either.
Will it pick up the return?
Let's see.
Somehow I doubt it. Oh, oh, there
Extract
we go. Extract a method. Whew. Okay. And this is like for when it has,
seasons.
okay, so name it something like that.
All right. I'm gonna do something generic for now. Series. Oops. Of course. Yeah. Series.
Oh, now we can do a rename
It's okay.
refactoring.
It's
If it's
only
right there, that's
just
fine.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Series has seasons and um and when it has seasons, it well, it's a it's better name than extracted funk.
Yeah, I'll probably rename it after because my
Yeah,
brain
yeah.
isn't there yet. But
Naming is always a progression.
yeah.
So it's got that. And let's extract the else as well.
So I was thinking the else is the only difference between this one and the else is season and episodes. So
Mhm.
I technically can see if the series data episode, this is what I was thinking. Get rid of that and then say if series episode data. Hey Siri, thank you. Let
You said series.
I know, and then she thinks I'm talking to her and her family. Episode data and paste. That makes sense because it's basically
Except,
uh, series episode data. Episode. Let's do this. Let's see. Episode data does that. Oh wait, condition binding must have a type. So I'm already extracting out the binding part.
so I would come back to this. I think this is a level of refactoring further down. If you just set it back to what it was, I'm a big fan of thinking less
Okay.
and leaning on the tests more. Um, so if we extract the else so that we have basically the other half of it, even if it's just those few, and include the return statement also. That's the other side of things. These are refactorings I would do anyway, just to have something that's easier to quickly scan and see what's going on. Now,
Mhm.
what I'm wondering, the reason I had you do that is now that we have these two smaller methods, um, can we go back to the one that is
We can
difficult
test
to
these
test?
two now
Well, we can, yeah.
because this returns a series, which then means um I can use both of these methods instead of using the other. Oh wait, no. I may have done that wrong. So I'm gonna redo this really quick because This is the testable version, and that is not what I actually want.
Mm.
I want the version above it. So that one is there. And now I want to say,
Okay.
so this we'll see if it extracts it. And it doesn't because it doesn't have a return. So that's where, oops,
Xcode is a butt.
pain in the butt. I know. It's okay. I can,
We can do it by hand. Except, wait, this is the version that doesn't have a return.
right. And that's the one that, so the one that was testing does because I was returning series to test series, but this one actually just saves the series and does everything in Swift data.
Yeah.
So,
So what I was envisioning was that we'd have these two smaller things that return series,
uh,
and we can call those from this code.
okay. So then go, so, okay. So if I go back to what I had, um,
We just do it again.
that makes sense. And just so it doesn't break, I'm going to do
And
so here, extract method
that's with.
as season.
Mhm. And the other one, cool. So now, can we go back to the original thing and use these new methods inside of here?
No,
It'll
this,
replace those lines, yeah? I think. I'm hoping.
yes. So season has, so this should be able to be replaced here.
That'll that'll return something, which then we shove into something else.
This would be a series. So
Mm-hmm.
I already have this code in
Right?
repo. So, all right. And then the next one is series has no episodes. So I can do,
So series data. Does this make sense?
right now, I'm wondering about this. Okay. So here I'm checking the shows and then I'm filtering. Yes. So it makes sense. So series has no episodes and then it creates it. I'll rename this. I still don't
Mm-hmm.
like the
Yeah,
name.
yeah.
But it does make sense in the sense that now I can just test these two functions, even though they're file private, but I can test these two
Right. You can
functions
expose them. Uh,
in my test versus exposing this add to watch list, and that'll work.
right. So what we're doing is because you had those bits that were testable,
Hmm.
we just pulled them out, used them, and now we're back in the method we actually want to work in. And yeah, we haven't figured out most of it yet, but we've reduced the surface area that is untested. We've
Yes,
narrowed it. Um, if it works, still
it
have to
should.
try.
Basically, it's doing the same. It's doing the same thing I was doing I was passing in series data and season data, which is in my test, and then it creates series and season, and then it passes back. This passes back the new show, which has all of the data in it, and then I can test that. So if I go back to my test, instead of saying add, oops, I can't access it yet because this is
Right. We'll expose them.
now here's the question.
Hmm.
So right now I have two different methods. So I guess I'd have to predetermine what it's going to be by doing like series has episodes and doesn't have episodes beforehand. So
Yes.
Berlin has episodes, so that one I should use series has episodes, and then I pass in series data and episode data, and good. So that works. And now, so that takes care of this one. This one, let me go back up. The first one is Daredevil. Daredevil doesn't have episodes,
Hmm.
so this one will
Call the
be
right.
series has no episodes. And hey, series, thank you. Um, results, series data here. So that goes. Um, all right, I'm just gonna do for sanity's sake, I'm just gonna run the test for the first two,
Yeah.
and that way I make sure that this actually is working the way I should expect it to before I do all of them, and then I realize it doesn't. Okay, so here's this is the other error that I'm getting. Um, and I think this one, okay, I know what this error is. So, and this is the other question I have for you, but I already know the issue of this one. So just give me a second. Elizabeth.
Something different about the shape of this one.
Um, it originally was because it wasn't embedded. It looks it that's what that is, but it says it's failing on the decode. So
Yeah.
that tells me that
What's
it's
it missing?
something else. I haven't tested Lisbeth. So the ones in the folders
Hmm.
I've tested. Um, the one that Lisbeth isn't in a folder, so I think I included that one as a test. Let me see. No, Berlin and that one. There must be another test in here that didn't comment out. No, I don't see why that one is. Why is Lisbeth running a test when I'm not even using the JSON? That's weird. Series info. This one I haven't. This one is definitely. I don't think I have Lisp. Oh, there it is. I'm using it there, and I'm not sure why. So I'm gonna just. This one I definitely have to redo because I fixed some of my. Originally I was doing string as a for date, and then I decided to use the encoder for the JSON, and so a
Uh-huh.
lot of stuff had to get redone.
But
But
yeah, if we can
this
get back to
yes,
uh,
this
a
this
green state, even if we've got a bunch of stuff commented out, that's fine. Let's see.
oops.
This is
So this has both. So this one is
choose.
series has episodes, series data.
Give us a test diamond. Thank you.
That would be
All
good.
right.
This one's both. I named them the same, so I should be able to just do
Hmm.
that.
So all these tests for slightly different shapes of the data.
Yeah, yeah,
series.
all of them are definitely different in some way that I found that I'm like, oh, I need to test that scenario. And so then
Yeah.
I just take the JSON and and then originally I was making them by hand and I'm like, this is horrible. And then I
Oh
found
yeah.
someone
Then you
who
did start using chat.
so now I'm able to hit the API. And that's the actually my next question is going to be once we figure this out is going to be that one. So here, so that should be good. And let's just do test of all of these and we should be good. Yes. All right. So that works. So that answers that
Cool.
question.
Before we go on, can you
Yes.
can we just confirm that like do a real run? Uh,
Sure.
because we have the parts that are tested, but we have the parts that we're like, eh, we're calling hands off for the moment.
Yeah, let's I'm gonna just remove delete the app and run it again.
Fresh start.
And then I'll just manually do so nothing is in, nothing is in, and then I'll do Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that works. Um, we'll
Give
do.
us give us a yeah, Elsbeth.
I'm looking forward to that show actually.
What even is it?
She is a character from The Good Wife. So she was a character in The Good Wife. She was a lawyer as it grew and then it went to The Good Fight. She was in there a little bit more, but
Oh,
she's kind of a spin-off character from the original show The Good Wife.
hmm.
And she's actually really she's actually responded to me a few times on Twitter, which is actually pretty
No
shocking.
way.
Yeah, I was like, "What?" Okay. I said something and she said thank you and then I said something to her again and she responded.
Wow.
Okay, and then let's do Shogun. This one. So Shogun is there. Ending is Daredevil. It looks like it's working though. I think the other day I hit this one.
Oh,
And I'm like,
wrong one.
why is it not working? And then I
No.
realized I hit the wrong Daredevil. After I started changing all my code, I was
Oh,
like, oh,
God, that's the kind of thing
yeah,
where it
yes,
just
it's
goes
horrible.
nuts.
So, okay, so binge, upcoming,
Okay, so
pending is
there it
good,
is.
that's
There we
good.
have it. We've got some with and some without, right?
Masters of the Air. All right, that's the last one, and that's the only one that's not. And there we go.
So don't yes. So this may seem like a cheat, but basically it's okay, we've got this big method. It's untestable right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, but we have a smaller parts that we can test. And usually this is how it goes is that when you try to test something and it's hard, um, pull stuff out of it that's easier to test. Test those
Okay.
bits. We'll see if we can get back to testing the whole thing. Maybe, maybe not. Um, uh, but at least we've made it better and we've increased the you might say the
Coverage.
automated coverage at least
Okay.
for our confidence, and that's then leaves a little bit of manual testing, um, but hopefully less.
Yes, definitely. And I'm sure like I'll probably add more stuff to the logic because again, there's probably shows and with outliers, but I think
Oh yeah, you'll keep
I've
finding
gotten
those.
most of them. Yeah. Okay, so the next question I had was right now